to the WIHS Journal. On the broadcast with us today, we have a local author, and the book is amazing for anyone who has experienced any kind of abuse. And when we have experienced abuse, we tend to mask it with different things. And today's broadcast, local author Jerel Cloud will talk about how she used clothes, fancy clothes and jewelry. The book is called Excuse Me While I Change My Clothes. You know, Jerel, it's so good to have you in the studio, and we'll be talking a little bit about your book, Excuse Me While I Change My Clothes. But usually I would like listeners to know just a little bit about yourself, so then we'll dive directly into the book.
Okay, well, hello, everyone. I am, again, Jerel A. Cloud. I am a native of New Haven, Connecticut. However, I reside at this time in Middletown. I am a mother, a grandmother, a wife, pastor, a daughter, a sister. I just wear many hats right now. I'm also the host of a wonderful women's conference. I don't know if you all have heard of it. If you're from this area, it's entitled SEW. The acronym is SEW, which stands for Spiritually Embracing Women. And it has been amazing, and we are growing, and it is doing great things.
That's great. So the book, let's get back onto that. Now that we had a little bit of a tidbit on you and who you are. So the title, what inspired the title, Excuse Me While I Change My Clothes?
Actually, the title was inspired by my everyday life. I would leave out of the house thinking I was in, I guess, what we would call everyday attire. And everywhere I would go seemed like someone was complimenting me or stopping me and asking me about a particular piece I was wearing, or where did I get this from, or are you a model, or just something to that effect. And as I began to go through different trials and tribulations in life, and I began to battle with depression, not really wanting people to know what I was dealing with or what was going on, I began to rely on the clothes and the compliments, and it was almost like fuel to get me through my day because there was so much going on behind the scenes, I guess I would say, to where when I came out of the house, I was just determined not to show or to let on what I was going through. And so I believe the writing of this book and the title of this book derived from just what I was going through and what I was dealing with. And because the compliments came so freely, it was very easy for me to begin to use clothing and outfits and different things, almost like costumes, to help cover up the negativity that I was feeling, the depression that I was dealing with, the low self-esteem that I was going through, the insecurities of just being who I was at that particular time. And so that's what inspired the book. And the title of the book is more so of a metaphor.
Yeah.
You know, changing clothes, really changing into a new mindset.
Thank you for being so transparent. I really hope that encouraged a woman or even a man to know that sometimes we all cover up, but God has a great way of unveiling us when He does do that.
Absolutely.
So, you know, in this book, what would you say is your hardest part that you did have writing?
Oh, the hardest part, I would say chapter 4. Definitely. It's the shoes for me. That's the title of chapter 4. And if you're a shoe fanatic, you'll definitely love this chapter. But it was hard for me because in this particular chapter, I told some very dark things, some things that I had never spoke of privately or publicly. Some of those things, my own children or spouse never heard from me.
Wow.
And so I had to prep them first before the book was published, you know, because I didn't want them to be blindsided by what they read or maybe what they heard, you know, on an interview or someone asking. And so that was very hard for me, just being transparent, because as much as I love to talk, I don't share a lot. I'm a very private person. And so it was very hard for me to really get into that, get into myself and to really understand that, listen, if you really want to help people, you're going to have to share some things because you're not the only one. So many people have gone through the things that you've gone through and are still stuck. But you were blessed to overcome it, and you were blessed to come out. So therefore, there was a level of obligation for me, to tell my story. And so it was very hard for me. And not only that, I felt like even in writing some of those things in that chapter, I even felt like my healing was being challenged because, you go through things and you believed you're healed. But when you have to, dive in and write and you want to be as accurate as possible, it kind of brought me back to a place emotionally. And it was so intense, I could actually smell like aromas of different things that was in the room. And I could see like different photos and wallpapers, and it just became very intense. So chapter 4, I must say, was very hard for me to write, but I got through it. And in writing that, it really helped me to know how much of an overcomer I was. Yeah.
And we're not going to go. So was to entice listeners, did it have something to do with abuse?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And let's go to the next question. So what was the best part about writing the book?
Chapter 5. Yeah. Don't forget to accessorize. I mean, who doesn't like accessories?
Absolutely.
It sounds like fun, right? Yeah. That was, I must say, the funnest part to write, because that's when I really realized that I was writing from a place of healing and not revenge. And not, sometimes you go through things and you believe you're delivered, or you believe you come out, when really there's a vendetta, behind some things that you do. But in writing chapter 5, I call that chapter subtitled The Great Do-Over. That's where, I talk about how God has allowed many areas of my life to be literally done over. And it's just all victory. And it was just very fun to write because it really identified with me being a person that is truly free.
Amen.
Mentally and physically.
Amen. If you're tuning in right now, I'm talking to Jerel A. Cloud. She's the author of Excuse Me While I Change My Clothes. She's just being very transparent of the deliverance that the Lord has brought her through. And if you can think of one quote or one gem from this book, what would it be?
Wow. There are many.
Are you okay?
There are many. I think the one I will think about right now, I think the one I would like to quote right now, I guess I would say, is God doesn't always choose us according to what we already possess. I believe he chooses us according to what he can deposit within us to get the glory out of our lives. That's the one I think I'm going to go with today, because sometimes just going through life, you try so hard to go with what you already have, when sometimes it's necessary to empty out and allow God to pour back in. And it was the pouring back into me that what really helped me to overcome and become the person or the woman that I am today.
Praise Jesus. Yes. So the book is Excuse Me While I Change My Clothes. Jerel A. Cloud is the author. Tell our listeners how they can get in contact with you, or especially get a copy of your book.
You can go on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, BarnesandNobles.com, or you can go to my personal website, JerelACloud.com. That's JerelACloud.com. Or again, anywhere books are sold.
Once again on the broadcast with us was the local author, Jerel Cloud. The book is called Excuse Me While I Change My Clothes. For more details about today's broadcast, call WIHS. Our phone number is 860-346-1049. I'm Anissa Porticelli for News and Public Affairs.